So in this lesson, we will look at what you need to do before your exam so that your brain is working at its best and you are ready to take that exam and show exactly what you know. Exam time means students rushing into my room asking me for a calculator, pen or highlighter. And whilst I love the chance to wish a student good luck, I don't have an endless supply of calculators, and your school is probably the same. You also don't need the added stress of realising you have forgotten something vital just before the exam starts. Let's not even mention the mind-numbing fear of finding out there are no more calculators and you will have to complete a math exam without one. I created an exam pack checklist so that you can be confident you have everything you need for the exam before you even leave home. So place everything you need in a clear Ziploc bag the night before your exam. Put your keys or your phone on top of that bag and do not move them until you leave the house. That way you know you won't forget your exam pack. You can go into your exam confident you have everything you need, which means that you aren't worried or stressed and your brain is ready and focused on that exam. So included in that exam pack checklist is your admission slip. So you can't get in without that. You can go to the office and print another one if you do forget it. But again, it's just that added stress of running around having to find it. So it's much better if you already have it with you. Always bring 3 pens. You never know when they're going to run out. A highlighter, a calculator. You don't need one for every exam, but if it's in your pack, you know you won't forget it for those exams that you do need a calculator for. You also need a ruler and a water bottle. You can download that checklist from the lesson files, so you can then print it out, and as you add each item to your pack, you can tick it off. So one thing that is often overlooked when you're cramming for an exam is sleep. To do well in your exam, you need a good night's sleep. So at least the night before the exam, and ideally for a few nights in the lead up to each exam. If you have left studying to the week of the exam, it can be tempting to stay up late into the night cramming a year's worth of learning. I get it because that is exactly what I did for my NCA Level 1 exams. I didn't have a plan for what I would study throughout the year, and I didn't know how to commit to studying throughout the year either. I left all of my revision until study leave, and then I ended up staying up until 2 AM trying to cover everything. What I didn't realise was that I was reducing how much I actually remembered of what I'd studied that day. When we sleep, our brain goes through our experiences that day and starts to make connections to other information stored in our brain. If we don't get enough sleep, our brain cannot store and remember everything we have learnt that day. Napping after studying has actually been scientifically proven to increase how much you remember. Even if you stay up to 11 PM studying, it will still take your brain at least an hour to wind down and be ready to fall asleep. I strongly suggest that you stop studying by 9 PM and start relaxing so that you're ready to fall asleep when you go to bed. You are better off losing those 2 extra hours of study and replacing that time with sleep, because it means that you will remember more of what you did get to revise. Ideally, you should avoid having to cram. The best way to do this is to create a study plan and revise a little bit throughout the year. If you haven't done that yet, you can use the Ultimate Study Planner workshop to make one. The link is in the lesson to this text, and it's a free workshop. My third tip is that you want to do something to relax just before you go into your exam. So this one is all about getting into the right mindset, and it really does make a difference. Every year I watch students sitting outside the door to their exam, flicking through cue cards, reading over their answers to past exams or highlighting notes. And it can feel comforting feeling like that information is fresh in your mind. Unfortunately, it's not going to make any difference once you get into your exam, especially if you have recently crammed all of that information and are relying on your short-term memory to hold it. As you read through the questions in the exam and start to think of answers, the stuff you just revised outside will be lost anyway. Also, as you do a last-minute test of what you remember, you are likely to realise that there is something you have forgotten, and this can send you into a panic of what else might I have forgotten? And this leads to the fight or flight response. So this is where your brain senses danger and puts all of its energy into getting away from that danger. As from an evolutionary standpoint, danger used to be a predator about to eat you. This response fills your body with adrenaline. It increases your heart rate and your breathing rate, whilst taking blood flow from your other organs and pumping them into your muscles so you can run super fast. Obviously, running super fast isn't going to help you in the exam. Extreme stress and nervousness actually makes it harder to concentrate and remember information. You will likely find that you are imagining the worst case scenarios, like what if I forget everything? And so your brain keeps flicking to these thoughts. This makes it hard to stay focused on the answer you are writing. If you keep losing your train of thought, you will have to keep reading over your answers to get back to where you were, and this wastes time. If you have revised your classwork throughout the year and have been confidently completing practice papers, then all of that information is in your brain. You just need to make sure that you are calm and ready to retrieve it. The best thing you can do before your exam is an activity to calm yourself. This will look different for everyone. It could be reading a book, listening to music, talking to friends, or even just doing star jumps or physical activity. Make sure you focus on your breathing too. Take big breaths in through your nose and out through your mouth a few times whenever you start to feel your nerves creeping up. Deep breathing helps to tell your brain that you are not in danger. Obviously, you wouldn't be standing there taking slow, deep breaths if there is a lion about to jump on you. So your brain stops the fight or flight response, helping calm you down. If you find that your nerves and stress are getting out of hand, try some mindfulness exercises to bring you back to reality. You can use the 3 things I see, hear and feel technique. So this is exactly as it sounds. You focus on 3 things you can see and you list them in your head. So you think, I can see a small sparrow. I can see a blue ribbon flapping in the wind. Then listen and think of 3 things you can hear now that you are focused. Avoid the loud sounds and listen for those more subtle, quiet sounds you couldn't hear before you focused. Finish with 3 things you can feel. So it could be the wind on your face, or the hair on your face, or the hard cover of the book in your hand. This will help get you out of your head and focus on the present and what is around you. You could also try doing what's called a full body scan. And so here you sit still or you lie down and you focus on one part of your body starting at your feet. So you focus on relaxing your feet, letting them sink further into the floor. And then you work your way up to your calf muscles, relaxing them, and your knees, all the way up to your head, focusing on one body part at a time. Positive self-talk can also work really well. So you tell yourself when you start to get worried that you're prepared and it will be absolutely fine. You're going to do well. It sounds a bit silly, but it changes your mindset if you practice this over time. So rather than the exam feeling like a daunting event, you start to realize it's just 3 hours and you can do it. It is achievable. You don't have to wait until just before the exam to start using these techniques either. Use them whenever you start to feel worried about the exam. In fact, the more you start practicing these techniques in the weeks before the exam, the better they will work just before it. Whilst most of you will have some nervousness about the exam, these activities will help reduce those nerves to a level where it doesn't impact on your results. I always went into my exam an hour early and I just met my mates at school and we just chatted. It was my way of forgetting about the exam and making the day feel more normal. Then 10 minutes before the exam, I would put my headphones in and listen to a few songs that were calming. Just remember, while we all want to do our best and get good grades, the world is not going to collapse if you fail. If you worked hard throughout the year and you prepared for the exam, but it doesn't go as planned, your results aren't what you hoped for, go in and talk to your dean at the start of the year. Explain the situation. They can often help you get into the class you need, even if you didn't quite make the prerequisite. However, this really only works if you work consistently throughout the year, or stress and nerves or an unexpectedly difficult exam got the best of you. If you mucked around in class and didn't hand in homework, they're probably unlikely to be as accommodating. I know exams can feel really stressful and feel like a really big deal, but just keep them in perspective. It's one exam. It's only 3 hours of your life. Don't let that exam get you so nervous that you aren't able to show exactly what you've learned throughout the year.